This is The Tempest. Chances are the last time you heard these guys was May of last year, and as you can tell, they're doing much more difficult stuff now. That piece was The Tempest. It kind of featured all the different sections of the band, and you might have heard some instruments in there that you didn't hear in 6th grade. Something else we were doing besides learning our book and learning all this stuff was having kids try out for a few instrument switches, and we added some lower pitched instruments in some of the sections. So if you play one of the switch instruments, when I call out the instrument, can you lift it up so the parents know what I'm talking about? We added a bass clarinet over here. We like to play bass clarinet. We added a tenor saxophone over here. Gabby's playing the tenor. We added a giant bari saxophone. Ryder's playing the bari. It's bigger than him. In the brass section, we added French horn. The coach is playing French horn for us. We added a baritone. Keegan's playing baritone for us.
Woo, Keegan!
And we added tuba. Frank's playing the tuba for us. So all of those kids, besides doing normal class stuff, learned a new instrument along with it. Now, some of the instruments were very similar to things they were doing, and other ones were completely different sets of fingerings. We had 2 trombone players that switched from doing this to learning all these fingers, and those kids have been doing an excellent job for us. So as you hear all the lower sounds throughout the concert tonight, that's all those new instruments we added in. The next piece we're going to play for you, I think, is some of the kids' favorite song. This is a staple here in Troy. This is like my 14th time playing this with the 7th grade team in Troy. This is Legend of the Alma.
Thank you.
So as the semester went on, we started getting into some harder music. This next piece is going to reflect that. It's called Dark Adventure, and you're going to hear it shift through a bunch of different moods in the song, and it forced the kids out of their comfort zone of the notes that they were really familiar with from first quarter, and we had to add a bunch of these chromatic notes in, which are from this chromatic scale that some of our kids have been learning. And so it really stretched them outside their boundaries, and it makes it sound a little bit spooky. In the middle, we're going to have a trumpet duet by Carter Ash and Leo Carter over here. But this is Dark Adventure. So before we play our last tune, these go by so quick. We spend all semester working on them and they go by so quick. But before we play our last tune, I want to recognize some kids that have been going above and beyond what we normally do in class. If you didn't notice, we have method books that we get through, and right now we're working through book 2, the blue book. And there's a line in that book, line 68, that is like the benchmark for this thing we call chops. And on my wall in the band room is this ball of chops, where you can make a level of chops if you do a hard thing. If you do a harder thing, you can make monster chops, and then you can make epic chops. And there's also a thing called the 30-second club. And all of these are stuff that I have not taught these kids yet fully. We have not got to line 68 in the book, but I have enough kids in here that have been wanting to work ahead that they took this upon themselves. Would you stand up if you made chops already this year? So if you see one of the pages of the program with all those names that says chops, what chops is, for our woodwinds and brass, they have to play this thing called a chromatic scale, which is all of the notes in between the first note and the higher note, everything in an octave. And they have to do it from memory with 0 mistakes. If you make one mistake, you don't make it. If you squeak, you don't make it. You have to nail it perfectly. And so those kids have been working really hard. For our percussion, they have to learn all these fancy rudiments and play things. We've even had some of these kids in the last 2 weeks, because they knew the concert was coming up. They've been working really hard to get to the next level. Did we get anybody to Monster Chops yet? Not yet, but you will see that in May, because some of them are very close. Now, the 30-second club is you have to play 6 scales from memory with 0 mistakes in under 30 seconds. So that's a lot of notes. And I think we have one right now on the 30-second club. Hunter in the back. And once again, this is all stuff beyond what I've taught them in class, so I think most teachers would dream of having that many kids working beyond what we're doing. But I can't thank you guys enough for supporting these kids and encouraging them to practice. If you haven't heard them play at home, you might ask them to play for you sometimes. It's always exciting in 6th grade to bring them home and practice a lot, and then in 7th grade, you get the little funk where the kids leave it at school more. But you might encourage them, because as we get into 2nd semester, the music's going to get even harder to set them up for 8th grade. So ask them to play for you sometime, because they'll surprise you. They've been working hard. This last tune is easily the hardest thing we're going to do tonight. It's going to push through several different challenges and tempo changes, but you got to do some fun Christmas music. It's going to feature Deck the Halls, The First Noel, and We Wish You a Merry Christmas. Here it is, Winter Celebration. Thank you guys for coming out tonight. a nice job for me all semester. I can't wait to see what we can do in the second semester. It's going to take them just a couple minutes to go pack up and everything, but they can take their instruments home for the break. They don't have to bring them back until January when they come back. I hope everybody has a wonderful holiday season, and we'll see you in May at our next concert.